We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Isaiah Johnson, Miami Dolphins corner, who was on the practice squad, and I think he's like the ideal practice squad player that you want on the team. Really, really good physical skill set, like has elite physical traits, and I actually thought he played with pretty good instincts too, which is nice. Like definitely flash good instincts, very physical, like great length, great size, and like he's willing to hit you. I think he has potential to actually be a really good special teams player, which is a chance for him to make the roster in the coming seasons. I think when it comes to playing in coverage, there's specific coverages that he needs to play in because this is something a lot of the bigger guys struggle with is those change of direction types of things. And especially when he has to open up his hips and then get back downhill. But when he can get hands-on, get a feel for it, I think he does a decent job. Like think back to like the Legion of Doom. Legion of Doom. That the Seahawks used to have. They used to run like the cover 3 match stuff, which I think, allowing him to be on a vertical play and use his length to his advantage. And I think playing as like a cover 2 corner is another big thing. Like I think he can get physical in the flat, reroute players, and then continue to do that. This is kind of like his one negative where he gave that touchdown, but he wasn't in a bad spot. Tough play to make there, and you're gonna have losses. But we'll start breaking this down. This is a tough ass where he has to go across. They're like, look at the mesh that they're running here. He's isolated one-on-one, and they're all 3 working across. So he has to work through all this trash. He knows exactly what's coming, so he doesn't even have his eyes on the receiver right here. He's just instinctually feeling that this is probably going to end up over here, because they scored a touchdown on a similar play earlier. So he works through the trash, gets over the top of 2 players, takes a good angle, and then you can see him have that like long arms length, allows him to make a play at the catch point. If he was a slightly better athlete, like when it came to like fluidity, change of directions, like he would 100% been drafted. I'm surprised he still wasn't drafted with his physical skill set, especially to like certain systems. But that's a really good play from an instinctual standpoint, and then also utilizing that length at the catch point, which is a big part of his game. And he didn't even have to get hands-on to line of scrimmage, which is another big part of how successful he can be. Here's a good one where he just feels instincts, ball going to their side of the field, but he's playing in a soft press. But I like seeing this because I've seen him in press where he gets physical, really shuts down like the timing of the route. But here he's able to just stay square, patient, open up your hips, and then anticipate the break to the outside, ready to didn't give up any separation. I think when he's able to get hands-on these breaks right here, he does a better job matching it. I think when he has to feel space and isn't able to 100% anticipate the routes, he can struggle to change direction and stay in hit pockets of receivers. That's why you really want him at the line of scrimmage, utilizing that stuff. Here you can see him, he's trying to get hands-on, but he recognized that it's a run, so he's able to get downhill. Not the most smooth transition. You can see how sometimes he's out of control transitioning downhill. Get up there, make a tackle near the line of scrimmage. He's had some reps, I know, even at training camp where he was making big plays on special teams. You can see with his physicality, his willingness too. I think that's a big thing for special teams players, so that's nice to see. Here's Isaiah Johnson isolated at the top. Look how he just dominates this. This is a pure passing play, and he just dominates this receiver. He's a single side over here. Gets hands-on, doesn't allow the outside release. He's trying to release the outside here, and he's able to just completely throw off the timing of this route. Love the physicality. And then once the receiver gets past gets close to 5 yards, he lets it go. He's even playing zone too. He's not even playing man. He's just completely manhandling that guy. He's playing as a flat defender now. He's done that. Doesn't give up that outside release. He's able to throw it off, and the sack happens. Really, really impressive stuff. This is the type of things that if Isaiah Johnson did see playing time, I could see him being they had a lot of UDFA DBs. He's another one. I could see him being one of the ones that maybe he started on practice squad, but then makes the initial roster next year, or even gets elevated if there's some injuries, because I do think there's specific coverages he could look pretty good in. Here we got Johnson getting downhill versus screen. As you can see, he doesn't look as comfortable when he has to open up his hips like this. I don't think he's a zone turn type of corner where he's going to open up his hips at the line, give you free releases, bail. Because if you look at him, when he has to open his hips and then get downhill, it takes him a while to get out of that break. Obviously, he's still able to get in and make a play here, but this is something that if you just look at it, it's going to hold him back, and I think is his biggest limiting factor. There are ways to get away with this, but it does maybe doesn't allow him to play the full pool of coverages out there that you would like. Then he still gets downhill, gets physical with the corner, sets the outside, he sets the edge here he's versus the run. Sets the edge, forces us back into inside help. Safety there is to make a play, and then he's also going to get physical too. really, really nice work there from Isaiah Johnson. Doesn't like he'll get downhill and make like clean tackles and blow you up, but he's also willing to take on off receivers, things like that. I've seen it like it. I broke down the first game on him. I didn't show any first game clips in here because I already broke that one down. But he had even like more plays just like this where he's just bullying receivers and getting hits on these players out in space. Very, very good work. Here's another one where like I think he does a good job anticipating route breaks. I think when he's able to play like in the hip pocket and he gets hands on right at the route break, not like where he's like pulling. I think for like sometimes longer, bigger guys struggle, I think, with getting over aggressive. He wasn't much of a puller. I didn't see too many pulls on film. But as you can see, when he gets hands on the route break and he has to change direction to get horizontal in these types of spots, I think he actually does a decent enough job there. He's ready to break underneath. He knows he has over the top help. Ball's going to the other side of the field. But these are pretty good reps where I think he doesn't even have to get hands on at the line of scrimmage. He can play in like a trail type of position because he knows if he does get vertical over the top on him, he knows he has some inside help. He can play outside. If he gets vertical over the top, he has insane length to make a play at the catch point. That's why it's very hard to go vertical over the top on these types of players like Isaiah Johnson's skill set unless you just absolutely burn them with speed. But I think he has enough of a long stride, long length to make plays in those situations. Here's Isaiah Johnson doing another good job anticipating route breaks. There's one where he has to open up his hips and then completely stop on a dime. And like, that's a pretty good job. Like, this is like the only one where he kind of pulls, but he does it. Like, this is a veteran move, actually, in my opinion. Like, look at him at the top. Gets hands on. He shoots that inside hand to like that left shoulder area, like armpit area. That's kind of where you wanted their hand fighting. And then when the guy's trying to do a throw by. So when he pushes like that, corners are taught when like they push, you pull. But look how he pulls. He just barely pulls and then let goes. He uses just the pull to slow down his momentum, but doesn't make it obvious. He doesn't overextend. A lot of corners pull and make it extremely obviously that they're holding. He pulls, is able to stay in the hip pocket, and it allows him to change directions more cleanly. I just think when it comes to space is where he's going to really struggle to change direction, and he doesn't able to feel the route exactly anticipated. But I do think having that physical skill set and also showing some instincts in coverage, I think actually give him a chance, because sometimes with these bigger corners that have the big time, length, size, elite, like physical profile, and you're like, oh, I hope they develop. They don't maybe have the best athleticism, but then they don't always have great instincts, and that is really what holds them back from taking the next step, because it's very hard to develop your instincts. And I think if you have like, you maybe don't have the greatest change direction, but you can win in the ways he's kind of winning, you can still find a value at the next level in a certain type of role. Here he is filling versus the run. He's willing to get downhill, make tackles, very physical. I think I saw him maybe miss like one tackle throughout the preseason where he just took like a poor angle. But even when he takes poor angles, like he can make up for it with his length to like trip people up and things like that. This one is one where he kind of is one of like his negative reps, because I think they're having him like try to disguise, like he's opening up, looking like he might bail and become like a quarters corner, but he doesn't. He gets back square and then becomes like a flat defender. This is like too high right here, but he kind of gets put in a tough position. But when this happens, you don't want to allow the outside release. I love how he gets hands on. Like if they are going to release to the outside, like they're going to commit to it, get hands on and really disrupt the route timing. I think he should have committed to it a little bit more, but I do understand like they were down the field like already about at 5 yards. So like he's trying to make a heads up play, but you really don't want to allow that outside release. It makes it tougher on the safety for him to get there. And then now he should just be gaining depth, because he is the flat defender. He does start to see the running back to leak out. He wants to maybe close it. It's not like he's not gaining, like he's not in a bad position here. Quarterback just makes a really good throw over the top. Like, and you can see the insane length by Isaiah Johnson to get it over the top of him, and it just barely gets completed. So like this rep could have been really good. There was just a couple things that I think he did slightly wrong, where he just was barely not able to make the play, because the ball just barely goes over his hand. And, I do think this is a situation where he can normally be good, but I think he'll be fine if he's just straight up pressing them and then getting hands on the line. And then if he does that, even if the outside release, if he's getting hands on the line, it allows you to really disrupt the route timing and allows your safety to get over there, and you can gain some depth a little bit better. I just think he was slightly out of position, hesitated just a bit. Those are things that I think, he can improve upon. But there is positives to take away from that rep as well. And then just on a vertical plane, like they don't target him here. They kept trying to target Storm Duck. I think they were like, Duck's not as big as a target. It's going to be maybe easier to get over the top, but Duck did a great job. That's why he made the team. But they didn't really target Isaiah Johnson. He just, like every time a guy ran vertical on him and there was just like no separation, there's like like 6 reps I could have thrown in this video like this, where he's just staying in the hip pocket, no separation, but he just didn't really get targeted on these deep verticals, so there wasn't too many plays to show like this. But this is an area where I think he would be very, very solid. It's then there's a history of players with his skill set that do a great job in those types of situations, so nothing to worry about. And then the last play we're going to break down, this is the touchdown he gave up in this Buccaneers game. He's in a tough spot here. They're bunched up. He's trying to communicate pre-snap with Bonner, like maybe they should switch if things happen. Like he'll be man-to-man, and then these two would bracket and switch potentially. And that always puts these guys in a tough spot. But with how it ends up playing out, like the number 3 doesn't really break out. He goes straight to Bonner. So Isaiah Johnson's in a tough spot. Like he sees him goes outside. He's like, well, do I have to follow? He does. He has to go underneath like the rubs here from the other receivers. And the ball just gets thrown to a perfect spot. He almost makes a play at the catch point. Like he swipes down, just barely misses it by like an inch. Like his length almost makes up for him being out of position. He just barely missed out on that play. It's a very difficult spot for corners to be in. Like I know people will get mad and really criticize these types of plays, and you definitely can criticize it. But when it comes to corner play, like you're going to lose, especially in man-to-man in these situations. The offense has so many advantages nowadays. You're just in a tough spot. So like, unless this stuff happens like constantly, which it didn't with Isaiah Johnson, this was like one time in 3 games where I feel like, he gave up a touchdown, and maybe there was another chance for it at one point, but I feel like he played really, really well. It was mostly positive plays, and when you get put in those positions as a corner, the positives can really outweigh the negative, I think, because negatives are going to happen at the position, especially man-to-man. So I feel pretty good about Isaiah Johnson, especially as a practice squad guy. Like he is on your practice squad. That type of development, that skill set, something that he can even just bring to maybe just special teams down the line, I think could give him a chance to make the roster, even if the defensive stuff doesn't work out. But you can clearly see the potential on defense with some instincts, length, willing to get physical at the line of scrimmage, disrupt route timing, make plays at the catch point, make plays in the running game, be more useful on like a vertical plane, and then, play as like a flat defender and as a cloud corner. Lots of things I like with Isaiah Johnson's game. So if you just do, come in and subscribe. Let's get zombie.